Hello and welcome. Today we're going to go over Chapter 6 of the JavaScript book, How to Script the DOM with JavaScript. So here's a simple web page. First line being the doc type, basically the declaration. The next tag is the HTML tag, and this is considered the root tag of a document, of an HTML document. And underneath the HTML document, you actually have two child nodes. The first child node would be head, and the second child node would be body. So HTML can be referred to as the parent of head and body. Okay. Now within the head tag, we also have a title tag. So this title tag can be looked at as a child node of head tag, right? So basically the head tag is the parent of title. Now over here on the body tag has two different child nodes. It has a heading tag and it has a form. Both of these elements are child elements of the body tag, correct? So let's look at a visual representation of that here. So here you've got your root element, which is the HTML document. You have two child nodes for HTML. One's the head and one's the body. Underneath the head, you have a child node of title. Underneath the body, you have an H1 tag and you have a form tag. Underneath that form tag, you had a label, an input tag, and a span tag. And within the document, there was different text and the various fields. And so here's a text node for the text node of title, the text node of the heading, text node of the label, and the text node of a span tag. Okay. So there's different kinds of DOM nodes. There's a document, there's an element node, attribute, and text, and these are the more common ones. So we were looking at the document node. We looked at the elements. There's different HTML elements, right? We didn't look at an attribute, and in that scenario, it's on there on the page though. An attribute, the ID would be an attribute, name would be an attribute, right? These are the attributes. And then you have your text nodes, right? Your text nodes is going to be right here. Join the email list. Anywhere that you have text in there, please join our email list right there. I don't think there was one on the span here. You did have your label, email address here. Oh, yeah, you did have on the span tag there is, I'm sorry, there's this asterisk, right? So them are all text, and them are all considered text nodes. Okay. So we talked about what the parent node is. Like in a HTML document, the parent node is HTML. And then in that example also, the parent node of the title tag was actually the head tag. And the parent node of that form tag, there's a form tag and a span tag there, right? And then the parent of that was that body tag, right? So let's also we have what's called first child, last child. Let's look at that real quick. So in this document here, this is your first child of body tag, right? This is your first child, and this is the form would be your last child with relation to this body tag. You've got two nodes, H1, and you've got form, and this would be your last one, and the H1 would be your first one. And then you also have what's called next element sibling, and so in that case, back to that document, it's how it's kind of it's how it is related to the other elements, right? So we already said that these are child nodes of body, but form would be an actual sibling of the H1 tag. It's a sibling. So it's a sibling because they share the same parent, right? Just like a real parent-child relationship. Since H1 and the form tag both have the same parent, they share the same parent, they're considered siblings. Okay. So we have a node value, which would be, node value would be basically the value of that node. And like we seen where we have the text nodes, right? We have text nodes. The value of that text node is going to be, in that case, the text that was in that the title tag, the text that was in the other various tags as well, right? Here's an example of a span tag. And in the span tag, it basically has 3 child elements, right? Here's the beginning. So span tag being the parent, and it has 3 children. The first one being the bold, this bold HTML element. That's the first one. And then you have the underline, which is right here, this underline tag. And then you also have this italic, right? And so you have the I tag. So all 3 of them are children of the span tag, which is the parent. And then also the relationship between B, U, and I tags, they're all siblings, right? So to get the element object, you use the query select tag to get your span tag. Okay. I'm going to show you an example of this. I think we'll go ahead and look at the editor on that real quick. I think that might be the best thing to do here. So I created this span tag right here. I call this my span. It's basically the same as what was in the presentation. And here we've got the B tag, the U tag, and the I tag. Okay. So here in the JavaScript, what I did was I went ahead and got the HTML object, which is my span. So I got my span tag now. And then I'm saying, okay, let's look at the child nodes of that. Okay. So if I just take this, and we'll just go ahead and actually let me refresh this real quick. Let me put this down here. I have to do one more thing. Okay. I'll put this down here. And so then here you can see your node list, your B tag, your U tag, and your I tag. There's going to be a lot of different attributes under here. So, it'd be a little confusing, but let's, just take a quick look at it. As you can see, you've got your node list, which is an array. Arrays start at 0. Right, so you have your 0. The one at 0 is a B. The one at location 1 is a U, and then at a 2 is the I. Right. So let's look at the first one. So this first one, B tag, would be called the first child. Right. So if we open this up, here's a bunch of attributes. This is what I was kind of talking about, being a lot of attributes. So we can go down here. Now, this of my span, the first child was the B tag. But actually, if we go ahead and look at this again, even this is the first child. And you would kind of think that maybe you'd say, okay, well, here's the first child, just give me the text. But it's a little more than that. This is actually the first child of the B tag. So here's the parent. This is actually considered a text node of this B tag, right? So this text node is a child element of the B tag, and this is called a text node. So if we go to the first child of this, as you can see, it says text here, right? So if we expand this, it shows it in different ways, not to confuse things here. But, in this example, we're going to be using node value. The node name is this. Our node value is welcome, right? So for us to drill down to get this, what we had to do here on this, and not that this is the easiest way, but, just following really what was in the presentation and just following, kind of called walking the DOM. We're just traversing down down that node to find the value, right? So the first child was the B tag. The first child of that B tag was actually a text node. And then that text node, what's the value? The value was welcome. Okay. Now here is another way to kind of do the same thing by getting the first, well, here I'm getting the second, I'm getting, because it starts at base 0. So here, let's just do the 0 one first. So here, so if we do this, let's just go ahead and grab this and just put this, just easy way to do this here. I'm going to actually kind of refresh this to make things a little easier for us. And so if I put this down here, so this was the welcome one, right? And this is a different way of basically doing the same thing. Same thing as doing this. You're going to get the same result as doing this. So basically you're getting the child node, the first child node, which is at the 0, right? And then you're getting the first child, which is that text node, and you're getting the value. So if we change this to a 1 now, and we save this, oh, well, we're not going to save it. We're just going to cut and paste and put it in there. Sorry. Let's put this in here. And then as you can see back, which was the next text node right here. That's the value of that text node back. So that was that. And then obviously we go ahead and put a 2 in there. That's going to give us our third child element. And that was the exclamation point, right? Now this is using node value to get this. Now we could also use what's called text content. And so like in this case, we're going to get our first child and then we're going to get our text content. Let's take a look at that. And that returned welcome. So this is kind of, you know, maybe a little shorter, a little less code, maybe a little more easy to understand. Okay. And you could do the same thing here with this as, you know, by using, you know, here we could use the 0 one, right? And we're going to should be getting the same exact thing as we got on the previous one, which is welcome. Obviously we can change this to a 1 to get the back or 2 to get the exclamation point. So, you know, this is just another way to do that. You know, the node value is one way using the node, and this is the text content, which is a different way to do that. All right, I think we'll go back and look at the presentation slides a little more here. So this is what we were just looking at. Well, we were looking at an example for node value, and then also an example of text content. Text content, you know, seems a little easier to use than that. It's probably preferable for most people. So here we're showing how we can actually change the value of the element, the child element. So here we're taking the first child text content equals hurry. And then we're, you know, they're just logging it out. So you're actually setting that text content to hurry. So here, let's just, you know, do that real quick. Let's just grab this. Why not? And then, well, we're going to change this to my span, right? And if we refresh this, that should take care of that. Then if we do the span first child.text content, okay. So, you know, you're already familiar with the query selectors, and, you know, basically using a query selector is going to return basically an element, you know, one thing. Obviously, query selector all is going to return you an array list or or something similar. A list of multiple elements, right? And here's some comment methods of the element interface, which is you can test an element, a HTML element, to see if it has a certain attribute. You can get the attribute, or you can set an attribute, or you can remove an attribute. Here's how you get an array of all the A tags in a document using document get query selector all. Let's go ahead and take a look at that one. So over here, I have a list of those A links right here, this node list. And then you drill down inside here, you'll see that here's the href tag, and here's, so like the first one was Wikipedia. And if you don't go through each one, you'll see the different link that's in there. This one here was for Stack Overflow. So there might be some times you want to dynamically change these, or you want to read these for some reason. And this is, you basically have you create a node list, and you have all your different nodes there. So here it's just showing you how to get the unordered list. So basically using a query selector to get that unordered list. And then you are doing a query select all on your list items that are based within that parent, right? So by doing it this way, by using list and then doing list.query, you're only getting ones here. So in case that you wouldn't necessarily, sometimes if you had list items in different places on your page, you don't want to get them all. You're only wanting to get the ones that are under this specific unordered list. Okay, and this is what you're doing here. Like we kind of already talked about a little bit. So here's a way you can find out if it has a certain attribute. It's just a test, how to set an attribute. That's what you can set or remove an attribute. Here's a typical properties available to the DOM HTML specification. And this is just showing all elements, basically almost all elements. You can have ID, a title, a class name, a tag name, right? Tags like div, h1, h2, etc. Here's a property of an A tag, has an href tag. Image has a source tag and an alt tag. Here's an example for like an input tag. You can have a disabled attribute. Okay. So here you're getting, you use the DOM core specification. And that's where you use these get attributes. The get attribute and set attribute, whenever you see them, you're actually using the DOM core specification. Some more examples of using the DOM HTML specification by using the arrays at zero, right? At subscript 0. That's called subscript 0. So that's just the first one in the list, right? And to get an href, you just do .href instead of doing get attribute href. And here's a way to set your class name equals, so you're setting a class name on a div tag just by doing .class name. Otherwise, you would, have to do get attribute of class, get attribute of class, and then set them on there if you were using the core DOM. A couple more examples of just doing the .disabled, true or false. So the element object has this class list that can be used. And so you can use this to add a different class. You can replace one with another, or you could just remove one. And very handy to do different things. Maybe you want to change the background of the page based on clicking some button. You want to toggle that off and on. Let me show you that toggle here. So here, basically, you can toggle this. So this is kind of an interesting way to do that. If class list contains blue, and then you can add bold to something. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to show you the code in Visual Source Code. Show you some different examples. So here we're going to go ahead and look at getting this node value. And we kind of already did this, but we'll just do this one more time here. So in our HTML, we have let's look at our HTML. We have a P tag with the ID of a user. And then, so this is what we're going to use the pound user to get this. Then we're going to do first child, right? And our first child is going to be our text node. But then, so we need to get the value of that text node. So in this case, we're doing the user element, which is the user. We're getting our first child, which is that text node, and we're getting our node value. And so this will display John Doe over here on the right. Next thing we have here is getting the form. So there's a form that we have over here. Here's our form. The ID is register_form. And we have some child elements of the form. We have a label here. So we have a couple label and some input fields. So we've got 2 labels and 4 input fields. So we have 6 different children of the form here. And actually, I think we have this right up top here. So our 0-based one is label, and our first one here is the username. Then we have another label, password, and a couple more input fields. So we're logging all of our... So let's look at what we're doing here. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and change we're going to change this node value. We're going to change the node value of this element. So we're getting the email text. So let's go look at our HTML. So right here we're getting email, and then we're getting email text. So we're getting this span tag, right? We're getting this span tag, and we want to change this John Doe to new email. So we do the email element, which we have the email element. We get the first child, which is the text node, and we get the node value, and we're setting that node value equal to new email example.com. And if you see on here, maybe I guess I don't have it here, huh? So let's just take a quick look at that one. So we can take a look right here. And as you can see, it's new email.example.com. So we already looked at getting the earlier array of A elements here. And were all those links that we looked at earlier. This is the idea of has attribute class. And so since let's look at this email element, which we have defined up here, which is our email.text is our email element. We look at our HTML. So this one here, Does this have a class? Yes, it does have a class. It does have that class, so it's going to has class. So this is going to print true right here. This is line 40, so right over here we should see, I don't know, it's probably not in sync for some reason, but it is printing true because it has that class. Let's see. Now here's one where you can actually, what we're doing here is we're creating a new element that didn't exist. We're creating a brand new element that didn't exist. So even though that we went ahead and created this image, and we gave it a source, which this actually does exist. This does exist in our image folder, this rankin.png. And so what we're going to do now is we need to actually append this. So what we're going to do is we've got this ID of content, this div, and we're going to append that image, meaning add it to this page, because let me show you the page over here. So our page, here's the HTML page of this example. You don't see any image here, right? Because even though we created that DOM element, it's not actually attached onto the page. So to attach that onto the page, what we have to do is so what we're doing is we're creating a target div here, and that's basically that ID. And if I take this target div and I go ahead and do an append child, and I append that image that we have here to that, and I save this. If I save this, you'll see, I'm gonna have to save it first. This is just something else that is on the page. So you'll see that now you've got this image. Once we do append child, so we can create our own tags just from scratch, just from using JavaScript. We can create them, and then we use the append child, so we append it to a parent. It has to be appended to something. It's got to be attached to something. And in this case, we're appending that to that div tag, and so that's that image there. Right? Maybe we'll get rid of that because it takes up a lot of space on that page. Here's working with radio buttons. So we're grabbing, we're creating a new one here. We're creating a new input field, radio button. We're giving a type, we're giving a name, we're saying it's checked. Same thing here, but that's another situation where we don't have that radio button on the page. As you can see, there's no radio button on this page here. But if I go ahead and append that radio button we created, if I append that to the div tag that we had, the target div that we have for content, if I append it, let me save that now, and I'll show you the results here. So as you can see, now we have a radio button. And in that case, we did a checked radio button. You can also do radio button .disabled as well. So, what do we have here? And here's an example of a checkbox, pretty much the same thing. So instead of a radio button, it'll put a checkbox. We have, this one, we have a check being false. Maybe we'll go ahead and, just for the heck of it, look at that one. So what are we doing? A checkbox here. I'm going to save that one. Take a look at that one real quick here. So here's your checkbox. You can all do disabled as well. It's another option. And as you can see, it's disabled here. You can't click it at all. Okay. And also you can test to see if, if you're maybe doing a form validations and you're checking your form, you can check to see if a radio button's been checked. There's different reasons to do that. You may want to show some different content or verify that it has been checked. So you do radio button.checked and it should return true. So in this example here, we're doing an event listener on a select statement. Let's go and look at the HTML here. So we have this select statement. It's called investment, year 1, year 2, year 3, 4, 5. So on this, we're doing a event listener. So then when this changes, that it will call this function, and here we got an alert. So let's go ahead and see that alert, and so we'll go ahead and bring the page up for that, so we can take a look at that. So here we've got our drop down. So this is our select statement. We choose this one. It's going to tell you that you chose the 3rd year. So it's just an event listener on the select statement, on the select, and then based on when it changes, it will alert you. So that's about all I have today. Please let me know if you have any questions. Have a good day. Thanks.